Detailed analysis has revealed 11 countries and non-state actors that may be involved, either directly or indirectly, in potential military confrontations with the United States. This view takes into account not only the traditional state adversaries, but also emerging geopolitical dynamics, proxy relationships, and non-state actors that influence regional stability. Iran has long been at odds with the United States. The confrontation is not only direct, but also played out through proxy groups. Its support for groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, various militias in Iraq, and the Houthis in Yemen intensifies its indirect military involvement against U.S. interests. Recent rounds of cautious nuclear negotiations highlight how the situation remains dynamic, with military and non-military dimensions intertwined. Russia's rivalry with the U.S. is increasingly evident, especially in Eastern Europe and the Middle East. While much of this is a strategic contest involving economic, cyber, and informational conflicts, Russia's backing of separatist factions in Ukraine and its military support for the Syrian regime are examples of indirect confrontation. The evolving military posturing and influence operations across various regions have kept the competition active and sometimes dangerously close. The United States and China have substantial economic interdependence, yet they are strategic competitors. Military tensions, particularly in the South China Sea and around Taiwan, underscore a potential for direct military confrontation. Moreover, China's extensive global investment sometimes brings it into conflict with U.S. strategic interests, while its influence in cyber and space domains adds extra layers of competition. With its nuclear weapons and frequent missile tests, North Korea remains a persistent source of concern for the United States. The regime's actions not only pose the risk of direct conflict, but also complicate security arrangements in the region, encouraging intervention from other states, sometimes indirectly challenging U.S. influence in East Asia. Some conflicts do not involve a full direct confrontation between states, but create environments where U.S. interests are pitted against adversarial alliances through proxy warfare. The intricate web of alliances in the Syrian civil war and Iraq continues to be a battleground where U.S. involvement pits it against Russian and Iranian-backed forces. Although these are not outright declarations of war, these engagements significantly heighten the risk of miscalculation and unintended escalation. The U.S. has supported the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen against the Iran-backed Houthi rebels. While this is framed as support for regional stability, the proxy nature of the conflict means that U.S. interests are indirectly in opposition to Iranian influence, heightening regional tensions and the likelihood of broader escalation. Beyond the long-established adversaries, there are additional aspects to consider. Groups that operate across borders can sometimes be backed by or aligned with state policies aimed against U.S. interests. Cyber warfare, in particular, has blurred the lines between state-led conflicts and independent non-state provocations. Often, these actors are funded or enabled by states like Iran or even Russia, creating an indirect confrontation. While the historical focus in Latin America and the Caribbean has not typically been on large-scale military confrontation, there are instances where U.S. influence is challenged. Cuba and Venezuela have experienced periods of political and economic tension with the U.S. Although outright war is unlikely, ideological and proxy conflicts create environments where indirect confrontations can emerge. Recent shifts in political alliances sometimes result in unexpected alignments that could further complicate U.S. strategic calculations. In regions such as Africa and South Asia, local conflicts occasionally attract outside influence from major powers. Countries like Turkey, despite being a NATO ally, sometimes pursue an independent foreign policy that might indirectly counter U.S. initiatives in the Middle East. Similarly, ongoing tensions in the South China Sea and among smaller Southeast Asian nations may also become proxies in broader U.S.-China strategic contests. The list of countries and groups that may confront the United States spans traditional adversaries like Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea, while also including broader regional conflicts where the U.S. faces indirect challenges. These include proxy wars in Syria, Iraq, and Yemen, involvement of non-state actors, and emerging challenges in Latin America and other regions. As global power dynamics continue to evolve, the nature of confrontation is increasingly multifaceted. encompassing traditional military engagements as well as cyber, economic, and political dimensions. Given the complex and dynamic environment, the potential for direct or indirect confrontation remains fluid. Policy shifts, regional conflicts, and changes in alliances could alter the landscape quickly, underlining the importance of continued observation by both policymakers and international analysts.